Hey everybody, my name is Jared and I am a Master Mason in the state of Mississippi in the United States of America. And today's viewer's question is, I am aware of what I can do for the Brotherhood. What will the Brotherhood do for me and my loved ones? If I put in work for the Freemasons, what do I get in return? I get this question or questions phrased very similar to it or with what feels to be like the same intent fairly regularly. And the problem I have with this question isn't necessarily the question itself, it's the format. It's because receiving it online, just getting a few lines here of typed text, I don't really know the feeling that's actually behind the question. I'm sure I might not quite be communicating that well, but I think you could understand the difference behind me sending you just a couple lines of text and you having to infer what sort of emotion goes with those lines of text and what I was really trying to draw out of your answer versus me asking you that question in person, where you can hear the inflections in my voice, you can see my body language, my mannerisms, and be able to say, well, I heard what you said, but I think what you might be asking me is this, and have that actual communication, that course of dialogue back and forth, and really get to the root of what the question is. So that's my problem with this question, is that I don't know whether or not I'm hearing it properly, so I don't know if I am addressing it correctly. The words taken for exactly what they are call into question a lot of intent. What is your actual intent? Because if the question here simply means, well, what do I get for my money and my time, and that's the sort of attitude that comes with it, then the simple answer is, man, Freemasonry is just not for you. Don't worry about it. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. It ain't for you. But if the question is more of a genuine nature of, hey, tell me about the things that Freemasonry has inside of it that I can make use out of. Heck, even saying it that way just didn't sound quite right. Um, but there is something there. Okay, so let me try to approach this on a couple different levels. First, please, if you're not a Freemason, I think that or if you're not a member of any organization, I think perhaps that it's a little bit arrogant, to use a strong word, to say that you know what you can do for that particular organization. Unless you're intimately familiar with the interior workings of it and understand what is involved, then you can't really say that. You can't really say, well, I know I can bring this. And let's just take a real simple example. Let's say you are an astounding accountant. It's something that you do very well. It comes naturally to you, and you think to yourself, heck, man, I could go join the Freemasons. I can be the treasurer of that lodge, and I can have them just understanding their financial situation better than they ever could. Well, you think that until you find out that the man who taught you about accounting is already a Freemason, the same person that you still go to when you have questions, and now all of a sudden you put yourself into that position thinking you could do it better than anybody who's already there, just to find out somebody better than you already was there. Uh, so I would caution you about that. And there's a lot of that kind of cautionary lessons throughout Freemasonry about, careful what you say, because you don't know who you're saying it about, and you may not know everything that you're talking about. So I apologize to the questioner if that was not the intent of your message, but for taking the words at face value, and from other questions that I have received that are similar to this, I think that sometimes that is the intent. So please take that into mind. but what will the brotherhood do for you and your family? So, hearing just those words and taking them at face value sometimes could be interpreted to mean, what do I get out of it? I gave my, anywhere, depending on where you live, maybe you gave $25 in an entire year, maybe you gave 1,000. I paid my dues. What do I get back? And sometimes people think that that might even mean like dividends from the lodge's checking account or some nonsense like that. I think first off that in asking the question, you're trying to um, play out the chess game. You're trying to see what the end results are, and in a way, I respect that. I don't get into a purchase unless I understand why I'm making the purchase and identify that I have a need for that purchase, and how I'm going to maintain that purchase down the road, and all those sorts of things. Uh, but realize you are requesting membership into an organization who has the sole authority to decide whether or not you join it. So again, it can sort of come off as a bit of arrogant to say, well, I know I can help you, and what do I get out of you? Um, you know, the body of Freemasonry isn't there to absorb you. Freemasonry is there for you to absorb it. And we can sit there and say, okay, we think you can learn something from Freemasonry. Not that you're flawed or that you have any great thing that we can teach you, so to speak. It's not a level of arrogance on our part. It's a part of our experience to be able to say, we think you're prepared to actually listen. And if you'll listen, we think we have some things that you might have of value. So when we talk about things of value, we're talking about basic life skills. We're talking about skills about how to study, how to memorize things, how to work different positions that have business skills in them, different leadership skills, things like you know things like minute taking and the work of the treasurer may seem mundane and the kind of tasks that some people would shy away from. Being the master of the lodge can seem to be an intimidating and time consuming task, but the skills that you learn in those positions can be directly applied to any type of profession that is out there. It can be directly applied to your personal home and how you conduct your life, and how you conduct your home's business, your home's assets, your home's finances. Those are some of the basic things that you start with. I think I'd be remiss for not pointing out that you also gain a brotherhood. You gain people who you get a genuine friendship with. People who, when you have an emergency, you don't even think twice. They're the first people you call. You don't even necessarily think first maybe to call your family. Maybe the first thing you think of is, well, I don't want to trouble mom and dad, or I don't want to trouble the kids, depending on which way you are and how far through life you are. Maybe instead you think, let me call my friend, let me call my brother, and instead he helps you. You gain that sort of mentorship from people who've been there and done that. You can sit down with a brother who is maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 or more years older than you and gain some life experience, that one-on-one mentorship that sometimes when you hear it from a member of your family or someone that you work with, you kind of need to hear it from outside of that box. You need to hear it from somebody else who has maybe walked a slightly different path in life than you, who hasn't had the same family ties and doesn't have those connections. Somebody who can sit there and say, "I've been there too, and here's my experience." So there's that. So a lot of times, we talked about this before in a video about the ridiculous concept that everybody that's famous is a Freemason. But in return, what you can do is take the skills and the lessons that are given to you in Freemasonry and apply them to how you conduct your everyday life. And in doing so, I genuinely do believe that you can distinguish yourself. that people become more drawn to you, that you might advance in your employment, or if you were to be an entrepreneur and start your own business, that people would be more drawn to you because of the way you conduct your business and the quality you care about the things that you make, and so forth. I think that's what you get from Freemasonry. Now, you did say for you and your loved ones. Well, first off, in all of these things that you're taking away, it's a bit of a trickle down effect. Freemasonry affected you. You were able to affect your family or affect your employer, which gave you a better position, and so now that has affected your family. So it's a bit of a trickle down or a domino type of effect. But that said, there are programs that are out there for widows of Masons who have passed away and things like that. But I would have to entirely defer to your Grand Lodge. It's going to be different from every jurisdiction where you go. But what I can assure you is that Freemasons take very seriously the care of a family of a brother who's passed away. Yes, the brother was the member of the lodge, but we understood that that brother cared about his family. And so when all of a sudden he's not there, we also want to make sure that the family knows that we care about them too. And that doesn't mean that we can step in and become the father or become the husband that has passed away, or we can't become the breadwinner in the family and pay everybody's mortgages, so to speak. But there are things that we can do. And there are programs and there's scholarships. There's a bunch of different things that are out there. But you have to talk to the Grand Lodge. And generally speaking, those things become available to you when you're a Master Mason. And then there may be other qualifications in there as well. So you're just going to have to check locally to see what might be available for your family should you pass away. Okay? So I am sure that this has a whole lot of depth. I would encourage anybody commenting below to please, let's start with assuming that these questions are being asked with the most genuine curiosity in a very light and happy manner, and not any sort of a condescending, give me what you've got type of manner. So if you've got a comment to add below, I ask you to try to follow that guideline, and let's see what more we can discuss. Thank you all so much for taking the time to watch. We'll see you next time. Bye.